So hi guys, welcome to Learn with Alok. So today we will see important questions on Linux. So let's start the video. So here are the questions which we are going to cover. So first we will cover what do you mean by Linux. Then we will cover important features of Linux. Then we will cover basic components of Linux. Then we will see what is bash. Then we will see what is kernel and explain its function. And what is LILO, what is swap space. And we will see what do we mean by process states in Linux. Then we will see what is Linux cell. And we will see what types of cells are there in Linux. Then we will have different types of modes used in VI editor. Then we will see what is LVM and why is it required. Okay, so let's start with our first question. So what we mean by Linux? So Linux is a Unix-line open source computer operating system that directly manages hardware resources of a system such as CPU, memory, and storage, and manages the communication between software and hardware. So what is Linux? It is an open source computer operating system which directly manages hardware and hardware and resources of a system such as CPU, like memory, storage, and manages the communication between software and hardware. Okay, it was first released on 5 October by Linus Torvald, organizing more secure and faster than Windows. Okay, it is freely distributable and is generally built around Linux. Furthermore, it can be installed on mobiles, laptops, computers, notebooks. Flavors of Linux OS include Ubuntu, Debian, SUSE, Gentoo. Okay, so let's see our next question. So what are important features of Linux operating system? Okay, so first of all, it is free and open source. It is freely available and easily available to everyone. Then it is robust and adaptable. It is robust. Linux can operate for prolonged periods without crashing and considered to have very much immune to security threats. Like we can use it for many days without restarting it. It is more secure than Windows. Okay, and then it is multi-programming system. More than one function or an application can run simultaneously. Application support. It has its own software repository, place or software location from where software can be retrieved, so that users download and support customized keywords. It supports customized. There are many different languages used throughout the world. Therefore, Linux supports the installation of multiple language keywords. Okay, so it has both versions, command line interface and GUI version. So it provides an interface for user interact with system and allow to use of user UI applications such as VLC, Firefox, etc. Okay, so let's move to our next question. So what are basic elements or components of Linux? So let's see. Kernel. Kernel is one of the most important basic features of Linux. It is considered a core or main part of Linux and is generally for all major activities of OS such as process management, device management, etc. System library. These are special functions or programs with the help of which we can application program or system utilities can access features of the kernel without any requirement of code. It is simply used to implement the function of the OS. Okay. System utility. Then we have system utility. These are utility programs responsible for performing specialized and individual level tasks. Specialized individual data. They are more reliable and allow users to manage the computer. Okay. Then we have hardware. It is physical hardware that includes items such as mouse, keyboard, display, cell. It is an environment in which we can run our command. Cell is an environment in which we can run our command. Cell scripts and program. It is an interface between user and kernel that hides all the complexity of the function of the kernel from the user. It is used to execute command. Okay, so let's move to our next question. What is bash? So let's see what is bash. Bash, the full form of bash is born again shell. It's basically a command language interpreter. It was written by Brian Fox for GNU system, can be used. It is of born shell. Okay, it is similar to born shell, but includes some additional features such as command line editing that makes it easier and more intuitive. It is default user shell on the most Linux installation. It is basically interpreted and non-compiled process that can also run terminal window. It is also capable of reading commands from JavaScript. Then we see what is kernel. Now let's see. Kernel acts as a middleware between software and hardware. Okay, so this is a very basic definition of kernel. So let's see what is kernel. A kernel is the main component of Linux. It is simply a resource manager. It is a resource manager as a bridge between hardware and software, as we discussed. Its main role is to manage hardware resources for users and is generally used to provide an interface or user level interaction. A kernel is the first one that is loaded whenever a system starts. It is also referred as low level system software. Okay. Its other main functions include memory management, process management, device management, storage management, manage access and use of various peripherals that are connected to a computer. Okay, so let's move to our next question. What is LILO? So LILO is Linux loader. It's basically a boot loader for Linux that is used to load Linux into memory and start the operating system. Okay, it is also known as boot manager that facilitates a dual boot of a computer. It can function either a master boot program or a secondary boot program and performs various functions such as locating the kernel, identifying other supporting programs, loading memory, and starting the kernel. Okay, if you want to use Linux operating, then you need to install a special bootloader that is LILO for as it allows a fast boot of Linux. Okay. So here is our next question. What is swap space? So what do we mean by process stage? Linux process is type of process stage that can be in several different ways. The process enter these stage from start to end. So you can see this diagram. Then there is a created, then ready, then terminated, then waiting, then running process. Process stage new we are ready, running, then blocked on wait, terminated or completed, and zombie. So in ready, it is a new process created and is ready to run. The process is being executed. In this state, the process is waiting for input from the user, and if doesn't have resources to run such as memory, file logs and input, then it can remain in a waiting or blocked state. Okay. Terminated in this state, the process is completed by user or terminated by operating system. The process terminated, but information regarding the process state as well is available in process tab. Okay. What is Linux cell? Linux is user interface present between user and kernel. It is used for executing command communication with Linux operating system. Linux shell is basically a program used by users for executing commands. It accepts human readable commands such as inputs and convert them into kernel understandable language. Okay, you can see hardware, then kernel, operating system, and terminal, then user. Okay, what type of cells are there in Linux? We have CSH cell, which is also known as C cell, then KSH cell, which is also known as corn cell, then bash cell, which is also known as born again cell, then TCSH, then ZSL, then born cell. Okay, then different types of modes using VI8. Okay, VIE, like feature editor, basically a default text editor that usually comes with most of the Linux organizers. There are basically three types of models modes used in VI. Different types of modes used in VI. Command or regular mode. With a default mode for VI editor, it is generally used to type command that usually perform particular or specific VI function. To enter this mode from another mode, insert mode, one must press escape. In simple word, it lets you view the content. Insertion or edit mode. This allows you to do text editing or type text into a file. To enter this mode from another mode, one must press. In simple word, it lets you delete or insert text. Okay. Example: X mode or replacement. This mode is used to save the files and execute the command. It basically executes files with different parameters. To enter this mode, one must press colon. In simple word, it lets you override content. Okay. What is LPM? So you can refer this diagram. LVM, logical volume management, is basically a tool that provides logical volume management for Linux kernel. It is basically it is basically introduced simply to make physical. It also includes, okay, its main advantage are increased abstraction, flexibility, and control. It simply allows for flexible disk space if they require to resize the size of the system.